Alright guys, so I know it's that time of year where basically budgets are completely stretched, money is very, very thin, and you might not have enough money to buy stocks that you want to buy. But the market is on an incredible run right now, and a lot of you guys are sitting on some pretty large gains, maybe even some massive gains, so maybe trimming some positions is the right call to kind of raise some capital. Well, that actually is a valid strategy, but it has a lot of pitfalls as well, and more importantly, there is actually a much better strategy that carries a lot less risk. So let's talk exactly about that today, right after you hit that like button if you like getting the truth without the hype. I believe everybody can retire early and be financially independent despite all the lies that you've been told. So make sure you check out the pinned comment down there and make sure you're subscribed to my new channel where that's exactly what we talk about. You get content all day long on financial freedom and early retirement. Okay, so on to the topic at hand here. We kind of need to have this discussion because it's a very nuanced discussion, but it's an important one to have, especially as we kind of end this year and we go to start next year. As you start planning for that next year, you need to understand this concept and have it in mind. So we get deep into the weeds in this video right here that I actually released to my group a little while ago, but it has all the details and it illustrates perfectly exactly why the strategy that of basically trying to trim positions in order to build capital in order to invest is not necessarily the best strategy. It is a valid strategy, but not necessarily the best. But more importantly, discussing the way less risky way to handle this particular problem that everybody runs across at some point in time. And the holiday sale for my group is live, but once the holidays are over, the price goes up forever. So make sure you get your spot if you want to take 5 courses for free, see all my buy and sell alerts in real time, see my watch list complete with price targets, be able to talk with me about this exact strategy we're going to discuss today, or anything else stock market related or investment related in general. Just so much, guys. Make sure you check out the pinned comment down there and see if a membership's right for you. See everything that you get. There's even a free gift there for you. If you don't want to become a member, just check it out and see if it's right for you. All right, so on to the video here. Let's check it out. And again, you guys leave me any feedback you have down in the comments. So let's discuss what to do when you run out of money to buy stocks. And hopefully that's because you've been scooping up all the deals and therefore you've always had great stocks to buy at great prices. And so therefore you're getting through all your cash and you're spending those on awesome stocks. I mean, seriously, like a rally we've just gotten, what do most of us say? We all say, hey man, I wish I would have bought more, right? Whenever the stock was at that lower price point, we all say, I wish I would have bought more. But a lot of times the bigger problem is you don't have enough money to buy as much as you want in the first place. I mean, obviously we all want to have unlimited funds to buy whatever the heck we want, but most likely you don't have enough money in the first place to buy as many stocks as you want to in order to hit your goals that we kind of talk about on the courses and such, setting those goals out long term. So what you start to do is you start to figure out a way how to actually create more money for you to buy stocks. And unfortunately, especially with YouTube and all the other resources out there, everybody at some point in time starts to think about taking profits or trading in order to create more cash to invest in whatever the next deal is, right? Hey, you spend all your money on, Palantir, let's say Palantir has a big run up and now all of a sudden, another stock is on a great deal and you want to buy that stock. So you're like, hey, why don't I sell some of my Palantir in order to buy that stock that's now on a great discount? So obviously you kind of start to do it. You start to actually trade, you do that and you have a successful trade, right? You sell that Palantir for a nice gain. Then you're able to buy the stock at a lower price and you're like, hey, I'll just buy Palantir later. It's bound to fall, whatever the case is. And now you're actually becoming a trader. And it seems kind of easy at first because you probably have some successful trades. When I talk about traders and trading in general, it's not that you can't make money on it. I actually have some friends that are professional traders, some professional options players as well. So it's not like those strategies cannot work. But statistically, they do not outperform buy and hold investing. They just don't. And they're significantly harder over the long run. What I mean by that is you can have some short-term success, but if you don't become a professional in those types of trading, in trading or in options or whatever the case is, most likely, or if you're not just conservative with those approaches, most likely at some point in time, especially if you're trading to create capital, which is what a lot of folks are doing, not as a strategy, but to create capital. So you basically kind of created a workaround, but it's not really sustainable long-term. What you'll find is your returns after taxes and everything else in your portfolio, and of course, all the mistakes you're going to make along the way, you would have been better off just holding your shares of Palantir all the way through. That would have actually been a better strategy and have a lower tax bill, and just the actual ROI would be far greater if you just held. And statistically, that's proven over and over and over again. Dead people return better than traders. So that's kind of the first question right there. The second thing that I kind of want to discuss here with it is you're not actually addressing the problem in the first place. And the problem is you don't have regular investable cash to invest in stocks for really 2 reasons. And the first one is you have a lottery mentality with investing. And the second one is you haven't solved the money problem at all in the first place. So let's kind of talk about the first one there, the lottery mentality. We talk about it a lot in this group, how lottery investing is essentially, I'm going to put a lot of money towards one stock and it's going to 10x or 100x or whatever. Anyways, it's going to get you out of your problem. You're just constantly trying to hit home runs and constantly trying to, have this one lump sum turn into a giant, nest egg in the future here, instead of just creating money loops and regularly investing. That is how you turn small amounts into large amounts long term through the beauty of compounding. You saw that in an earlier video from myself here, where we showed how pennies turned into millions in just 31 days. It can happen because of compounding, and you're not taking advantage of your greatest tool as a long-term buy and hold investor, which is compounding. It works in your favor, not the other way around. I don't know any wealthy people personally who just bought one stock one time and it created a fortune for them. They've been able to live off it the rest of their lives. That is very, very, very rare. I don't care that a few YouTubers are out there who threw, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in a Tesla in 2012 or whatever and made a complete fortune after that. Those are absolute anomalies. Those are not strategies to building long-term wealth. I don't know anybody like that outside of the handful of folks that are on YouTube talking about that sort of stuff. The vast majority, as a matter of fact, every single wealthy person that I know that has created a fortune through investing, it happened through consistently investing over decades and having some stocks turn into home runs. I had Apple turn into a home run for me. You could say, an Amazon or Google or some of those have turned into home runs as well. Obviously, Meta's been a great home run stock for us over the past year. So it's not saying you won't have home runs, but the idea of just, I'm going to pick one, I'm going to put my money in there and just magically it's going to happen for me is generally not how it works. And it's not a sustainable strategy. It's not an actual strategy at all. But yet that is how most people view investing is I got this pot of money here and I've got to somehow turn this pot into this future pot to get to retirement or whatever the case is. And there's a reason why the vast majority of people can't retire, because everybody seems to take that lottery mentality with it instead of just consistently investing and letting compounding and consistently doing the work and putting money into the market or into other investments compound over time and create that snowball where on the back end, it jumps up huge every year without you having to do anything, which of course dovetails perfectly into the second reason, which is you have to solve the money problem. That's why I put a course in the freaking stock market group, because it is that important for you to solve the money problem. You need to be able to cut expenses. You need to figure out your housing, turn your house into an asset instead of a liability. And to me, an asset is something that puts money in my pocket. Your house does not put money in your pocket if you're throwing $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 into the actual house itself. Now I understand long-term, sure, you're building equity, you're doing a lot of other things, but right now my tenants are building my equity for me. I'm not putting a dollar into it. Oh, and by the way, it's also paying me. So not only are my tenants building my equity, they're also paying me money at the end of the month. I'm getting money in my account. So I am net positive on that as opposed to your net negative $2,000, $2,500, whatever that dollar amount is that goes out every month. So there's a monster difference between those two. That's money that I can then take and invest that you cannot take and invest in that stage because you're having that money come out. So that's the reason why I made that real estate course as well, because these all dovetail into creating a great long-term buy and hold portfolio. That's why we discuss side hustles. That's why we talk about taking on more hours of work, especially if you got one of those jobs that pays a lot per hour. Hey, a lot of times that's your best bet, is just to take on extra hours on work and use all that money strictly to put back into investing. Great example of somebody in our group who has executed this perfectly, taken on those extra hours, and you guys can see he shows it in real time how much his portfolio is jumping up in regards to value, not only because he's bought some great stocks and made some great decisions, but also because of the amount of money he is putting into it by working those extra hours. So there's a lot of different ways to do this here, but you have to solve that money problem in order to kind of create a great long-term buy and hold portfolio for yourself, because investing is consistently doing it over a period of decades in some cases in order to get yourself to those goals. But what I found inevitably was everybody defaults to, when they run out of cash, to trading to try to build out cash. And that is just the wrong strategy. You're now becoming a trader, even though you don't know it. Even though you feel like you're trading to create long-term buy and hold investments, you're actually not. You're actually trading and you're playing a whole different game, which you can win at, but it is immensely harder and, more importantly, requires a completely different strategy than we talk about here. And that right there is kind of how people get in trouble over the long run. And of course, obviously, when you have some wins early, when you implement that, quote unquote, I don't call it a strategy, but when you do that particular thing, you trade to try to create capital, it kind of creates more bad habits that are going to creep into your investing. You're never going to actually solve the problems that you have if that's the way you are actually creating investable capital to go back into your investment accounts. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market, and click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.